In this video, we'll add a fragment class. We'll also take a look at some of the subtle differences between a fragment, the fragment lifecycle versus the activity lifecycle, and some methods that we'll use to interact with inflating the view and sending the inflated view to the activity. We'll also take a look at wiring up widgets. So we'll take an example of the edit text widget that we added to the layout in the previous video and how to wire that up to listen for user input. So first, let's go ahead and add our fragment class. I'm going to right click on our package and select new class. And first I'll enter a name, crime fragment. And then we need to change the superclass. We want to override, or inherit from the Android's fragment class. We are going to use a support library so that we have some backward compatibility. So there's our fragment superclass, and then we'll generate the class file. So here's our class file. Now, the first thing that we're going to look at is using the onCreate method. And one thing that we did in the onCreate method in the activity was to call up the view, the layout file, and inflate the view, and then send that back to the activity. We're not going to do that with the fragment. We're going to use a different method, which is called onCreateView, and then we'll use an explicit call in there to inflate the view and send it back to the activity. So the first thing is, when we load up this fragment, we want there to be a new crime object. So we're going to use some composition and add a crime object as a member of the crime fragment class that we're creating. And then we're going to override these two methods. First is the onCreate. We're going to send in, again, that saved bundle so that we have state saved between the different phases of our life cycle, our activity life cycle, that is. And then we're also going to add this new method called onCreateView, which actually returns a view object. Okay, so first you can see Eclipse is complaining, so we need to fix our imports. And if you just hold your cursor over the problem, it'll pop up this problem resolution list, and you can select the first one. It's usually the best, import view. Okay, so first let's go ahead and fill in our onCreate method. So first we do need to call the super. We're overriding and we want to load our bundle using the super's code there. And then we're going to create a new crime object. And that's all we really want to do in the onCreate method. Okay, now let's take a look at our onCreateView. And this is the method where we need to explicitly call up the view that we've created, inflate it, and then we'll send it back to the hosting activity as a view object. So all we're going to say is we're going to create a view object, and then we're going to call this inflator method. So inflator.inflate, I know it sounds funny. And we're going to put the qualifier for our layout. And our method is going to return that object. So slightly different life cycle there, but easy enough to do. And in the end, using these fragments and having them available for reuse is going to save us a lot of time. Okay, next we're going to create an edit text widget to our class. Then we're going to wire it up, and we're going to do the wiring for our widgets actually instead of in the onCreate method. We're going to do it inside the onCreateView. So it's a slightly different way to do it. In an activity, we use the activity find view by ID, and basically what that is Android's activity class overrides the find view by ID method, and it sends in the current view. So really what we're doing is we're using the method that is defined within the activities find view by ID. And this is basically what it looks like inside of that method. We just don't have that convenience method, so we have to actually explicitly give the pass in the view object. Before we go any further, let's move our return call to the end, because we actually want this code to run. Okay, so now that we've set our title field equal to the object, the widget in the inflated view, now we're going to define some listener methods. So we want a listener for onTextChanged. For before text changed. And after text changed. We're not going to do anything in there yet, so I'll just leave that blank. fixed our imports, and then looks like I've got some autocomplete issues here, which I see every week in lab submitted. So one easy way is to count all the opening. So here's open to close. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, close, okay. Oh, now we need to close the, okay, now we're good. Okay, so basically this is the subtle difference, I guess, between an activity and a fragment is this sending in the view to the find view by ID method. And now we have some listeners, so when the text is changed, we're setting our title equal to whatever string's being typed in. So at any point during the typing, that field should be set to the correct text there. And then remember there's an onCreate and onCreateView from our activity. We would call this onCreate, and we would call set content view. With our fragment, we need to be a little more explicit, so we're going to use the onCreateView, and we're going to call this inflate method, which inflates the layout and sends it back to the view. Also, we're overriding the fragment class. And then what we have is a reusable user interface component that we can use for a phone or a tablet app.